Within the next few moments, you'll find yourself immersed in one of the most disturbing, forbidden, and controversial ideas ever produced by psychoanalytic thought. It isn't a theory meant to entertain or provoke. It is a theory that wounds, that corrodes illusions, that burns away every comforting lie you were taught about morality, relationships, and gender. It does not offer redemption, only recognition. It does not promise healing, only clarity. And that clarity begins with acknowledging that the modern social landscape, its dysfunctions, its collapsed loyalties, its performative righteousness, is not an accident. It is the result of a foundational crack in the architecture of the feminine psyche. That crack has a name, and the name was first whispered, not shouted, by the French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan. His work didn't critique surface behaviors, it dissected structures, and what he found at the core of the feminine was not evil, not corruption, but absence. Not emptiness, but a void with its own terrifying logic. The theory begins not with behavior, but with structure. Lacan returned to Freud's foundational map of the psyche, but stripped it of sentimentality. He translated it through structural linguistics and brutal philosophical precision. For him, the human mind was not soft, emotional clay. It was architecture, cold, coded, and carved by language. At the center of this architecture was the superego. But this is not the superego of pop psychology, not the internalized voice of a scolding parent urging you to be good. Lacan's superego is darker. It does not whisper, "Thou shalt not." It screams, with ferocity and obsession, a monstrous demand for transgression. It is not moral. It is compulsive. It drives the subject not toward safety or pleasure, but toward destruction, toward breaking the rules for the thrill of breaking them. This is the death drive in its most seductive form, a superego that doesn't restrain, but commands excess. Where does it come from? It is born in the symbolic order, the web of law, language, and culture into which every subject is initiated. But entry into that symbolic order requires a violent sacrifice. A child must give up the primal desire for the mother, must surrender to the authority of the father, must accept the prohibition that structures all of civilization. This symbolic castration is not merely a loss. It is the creation of the subject. It is what generates the neurotic self. But according to Lacan, this process is not symmetrical between men and women. And it is this asymmetry that shatters everything. Lacan's most devastating assertion begins with 4 quiet words. The woman does not exist. He was not saying that women as individuals aren't real. He was pointing to something structural, something ontological. Woman, in Lacanian theory, is not a complete subject in the symbolic sense. She does not fully submit to the phallic function, the law, the logic, the language that organizes the symbolic realm. Her initiation is incomplete. Her relationship to the prohibition is different. And because of that, the superego that forms within her is not shaped in the same crucible of law and lack as it is in man. The male superego may be savage, but it is structured. It knows the law it defies. It has a point of reference. But the feminine superego, it floats, it mutates, it obeys no consistent law. This does not mean that women lack morality. It means their morality is not fixed. It is contextual. It is relational. It shifts depending on who holds power, on which relationships must be preserved, on what context rewards or punishes certain behaviors. Her moral compass is not broken. It is built to move, to adapt, to reflect. She does not live within a single moral axis. She lives in the mirrored surfaces of the other. Her desire is the desire of the other. Her right and wrong are not carved into internal stone tablets. They are written in sand, rewritten by each wave of circumstance and need. And you've seen this. You've lived it. You remember the woman who argued passionately for traditional values, for loyalty and lifelong commitment, who then abandoned everything the moment a higher value man appeared. There was no guilt. There was no internal war. There was only a seamless transition into a new moral narrative where her actions were not betrayal. They were justified, even righteous, within the new context. The loyalty she professed was never a principle. It was a strategy. When the context changed, the strategy changed, and with it, the morality. History confirms this pattern, not in abstract, but in blood. Take the Soviet Gulag system. In those brutal camps, survival became the only currency. The law of marriage, of fidelity, of till death do us part had collapsed. Women, many imprisoned with their husbands, often aligned with guards, trading information and intimacy for slightly better conditions, for warmth, for food. The information they provided sometimes led directly to the death of their husbands or former comrades. From a traditional moral perspective, this is treason. But from the Lacanian framework, it is something else entirely. It is adaptation. She did not betray a sacred code. She replaced it. The old symbolic structure had shattered. In its place emerged a new one, the brutal law of survival. And she entered it not reluctantly, but fluently, because she was never fully integrated into the old law to begin with. Her morality adjusted to the new authority, to the new other. And this is the point. Her morality was never anchored in absolute principles. It was always relational, always attuned to power, to protection, to position. The feminine psyche is exquisitely sensitive to the structure around it. Remove the structure, and it does not collapse. It reconfigures. We see this not just in the past, but in the present. Look at the corporate world. Look at HR departments. Their stated morality is fairness, justice, compassion. But introduce a crisis. A high-status male employee accused by a female subordinate, and watch the principles shift. The presumption of innocence, the value of due process, gone, replaced by a cold calculus. Protect the brand, mitigate risk, appease the narrative. The morality becomes a tool of the prevailing power, and the HR director sleeps well because in her moral framework, she did the right thing, not because it was true, but because it aligned with the demands of the corporate other. The feminine superego operates with terrifying efficiency. It serves the dominant structure with no loyalty to anything higher than the structure itself. And Lacan saw this clearly. He did not dismiss women as hysterics. He understood hysteria as a sophisticated strategy. The hysterics question is always the same. What am I to you? She constructs her identity by probing the desires of the other, her values, her beliefs, her passions. These are performances in service of desire. To be the object desired is to exist. To be the subject of another's gaze is to be real. That's why the passionate cause she champions today may vanish tomorrow, not because she lied, but because the performance ended. The audience changed, the script changed. The emotion was real, but it was stage emotion. Real only in the moment, only under spotlight. This is not deception. It is the structure. It is the architecture Lacan revealed, a structure built not on stability, but on reflection, on fluidity, on the ever-changing answer to the question, what do you want from me? This fluidity is the source of both her greatest gift and her greatest danger. It makes possible empathy, sensitivity, and social harmony, qualities that, within a cohesive tribal structure, enhance survival for all. But when the structures crumble, when the symbolic law loses its grip, this same fluidity becomes the vector of chaos. It becomes betrayal dressed in logic, destruction disguised as adaptation. The feminine moral compass does not break. It simply points to whoever holds the highest gravity in the moment. And that gravity is not determined by goodness. It is determined by validation. Validation is not a luxury for the feminine psyche. It is not a want. It is the existential requirement. The structure of the feminine, as Lacan argued, is built around a void. Not a void of intelligence, not a void of value, but a structural void in symbolic identity. She is not anchored in the phallic function. She does not derive her being from the law. She derives it from the gaze of the other. This gaze becomes the mirror in which she exists. Remove the mirror, and the image fades. This is why desire becomes the central engine of her existence. But not just any desire. Desire with a capital D, the metaphysical hunger for confirmation of existence. She needs to be wanted, not in a superficial, flattering way, but in an ontological way. Her being depends on being seen, being chosen, being affirmed. And this turns her morality into a complex instrument. It is a tool, not of justice but of effect. An act is good if it affirms her worth. An act is bad if it threatens her validation. This is why, to the masculine mind, her behavior often seems contradictory, even psychotic. But from her perspective, it is ruthlessly consistent. Consistent with the only law that governs her, the law of existential affirmation. This explains why the man who provides, protects, and commits may still find himself discarded the moment he falters. A man may spend years believing that loyalty, honesty, and sacrifice have earned him love. But if he ceases to be a source of validation, if he becomes weak, uncertain, or burdensome, he becomes invisible. She cannot see him anymore because he no longer reflects value back to her. And then, almost like magic, her desire shifts. A new man appears. He is confident, capable, admired. And suddenly her morality shifts with her desire. She does not agonize. She does not feel guilt. There is no betrayal in her mind, only recalibration. The man is left shattered, trying to comprehend how someone so devoted could so easily walk away. He accuses her of being a liar, a hypocrite, a monster. But she is none of these. She is simply structured differently. Her morality, her loyalty, her principles, they were all contingent. They were true within the context of his validation. Once that context collapsed, so did the truth. The feminine psyche, untethered from the phallic law, reorganizes itself around the new source of gravity. This is not an act of evil. It is an act of psychic survival. History records this behavior not as theory, but as fact. Go back to France, 1940. The Nazis march in. The French Republic collapses. The old symbolic order, freedom, equality, fraternity burns to the ground. In its place rises a brutal, victorious other. And what do we see? Women in Paris, who days before championed the Republic, now in the arms of German officers. They become lovers, informants, translators. They do not resist. They adapt. From the fixed moral lens, this is treason. From the Lacanian lens, this is transformation. And it continues. When the war ends, when the Nazis are driven out, those same women are paraded in the streets, their heads shaved in shame. The mob calls it justice. But what they punish is not betrayal. What they punish is misalignment. These women misjudged the trajectory of power. Their true failure was not moral, it was strategic. They chose the wrong other. Their tragedy was not guilt. It was miscalculation. And this pattern repeats again and again, wherever the winds of dominance shift. In modern times, the battlefield has become digital. Social media is not an invention. It is a mirror, one that reflects the unfiltered structure of the feminine psyche. Every like, every comment, every share becomes a metric of being, a microdose of validation. The algorithm becomes the symbolic other. Its values shift hourly, and with them, her performance. Her morality is not internal. It is viral. What trends is good. What is cancelled is bad. The influencer becomes the new archetype, the living embodiment of the woman as mirror. Her curated images, her polished narratives, her outrage and her joy, they are all real, but not fixed. They are real like an actor's tears. They matter only within the scene. Change the script, and the tears vanish. This is not duplicity. This is survival. And survival has a currency. That currency is power. Not just political power or brute strength, but social power, economic power, charismatic power. The ability to confer value becomes the ultimate aphrodisiac. A man with resources is not just desirable. He is existentially necessary. This is why a woman may stay with a kind, loyal man, but never burn with desire for him. He offers comfort, but not validation. His love is predictable. His approval is guaranteed. And what is guaranteed loses all value. Desire is not kind. It is hungry. It is desperate. It seeks the man whose attention is scarce, whose approval is earned. He becomes the validator, and in that moment, he becomes God. Hypergamy is not a modern insult. It is a primal structure. A woman seeks the highest value mate available to her not because she is greedy or shallow, but because her psyche demands it. The higher the value of the man, the more powerful the validation he confers. And this need is relentless. It does not sleep. It does not forgive weakness. It pulls her ever upward, toward the man who can give her the feeling that her existence matters, that she is real. Lacan saw this not as pathology, but as structure. And he traced it all the way back to the father. The father is the original powerful other. The child seeks his validation as the confirmation of self. When that validation is absent, inconsistent, or withdrawn, the pursuit becomes infinite. And that pursuit defines her relationships. She searches for men who resemble the father, who echo his voice, who carry his weight, or who can finally give what he never did. And when she finds such a man, everything else fades. He becomes the center of the moral universe. The rest of the world is organized around his desire. To be seen by him, to be wanted by him, to be validated by him. That is the supreme prize. And it is why, no matter her professed values, no matter her proclaimed independence, the gravitational pull of the high-value man is absolute. He is the symbolic father resurrected. His gaze is law. His attention is the only truth. And if he looks away, her world collapses. This is the brutal insight Lacan offered. And it is not meant to inspire resentment. It is not meant to produce hatred. It is meant to awaken. A man who understands this no longer blames women for their shifts. He no longer expects the impossible, a fixed compass where none exists. He sees the game. And when you see the game, you are no longer a victim of it. You are a player. You are free. So what then is a man to do with this devastating knowledge? What does he do when he realizes that his goodness alone is not enough? That loyalty is not a shield? That kindness is not a currency in the economy of validation? He must do what few dare to do. He must abandon the illusion. He must kill the hope. The hope that love, in and of itself, will be enough to secure loyalty. He must abandon the lie that a woman will love him for his softness, for his giving heart, for his willingness to bleed on her behalf. These things are not what attract her. They are what she expects. They are the bare minimum, the entry fee. but they are not the prize. The prize is power, and not the caricature of it, not cruelty, not control, but true gravitational power. The kind that bends others into orbit, the kind that creates reality by its very presence. That power begins with the annihilation of dependence. You must no longer seek her validation. You must no longer define yourself by whether or not she sees you. You must become the one who sees. You must become the validator. You must become the powerful other. This transformation is not about domination. It is not about manipulation. It is about orientation. A man who is grounded in his purpose, who is immovable in his frame, who walks with certainty in a world built on shifting sands, he becomes a lighthouse. He becomes a fixed point in the chaos. And the feminine psyche, which seeks structure not to be controlled but to find form, will gravitate toward him. She will align her morality to his compass, not because he commands it, but because to be seen by him, to be chosen by him, is to be real. This is the secret buried beneath centuries of myth, poetry, and tragedy. The king, the hero, the warrior, they are not fantasies. They are psychological necessities. They are the men who, by their sheer presence, create a moral order. And every man who wishes to escape the chaos of betrayed expectations must become such a figure, not for her, but for himself. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to forge a life so compelling, so full of self-directed meaning, that validation flows outward from you, that your gaze becomes a currency, that your standards become law, not by decree, but by gravity. When she sees that to be loved by you is not a guarantee, when she sees that your approval is rare, your attention deliberate, your presence earned, she will shift. Her morality, once fluid, will begin to crystallize around your values. Not because you imposed them, but because you represent what she has always sought, the powerful other. She will mirror you. She will reflect your frame. And in that reflection, she will find a form. But only if you hold. Only if you refuse to become the chameleon. Only if you remain the structure she cannot find in herself. And this is the terrifying, exhilarating responsibility of masculine power. It is not brute force, it is spiritual weight. It is the ability to hold fast when all else bends, to know what you are, to know what you stand for, to be a fixed point in the endless sea of relational flux. And make no mistake, this is not about control. It is about liberation, for both of you. When you become that man, she is freed from the torment of self-construction. She no longer needs to perform 1,000 shifting roles. She can rest. She can surrender. She can stop asking, "What do you want from me?" Because she knows. You have made it clear. You have shown her not just who you are, but what is required to stand beside you. And she will rise to meet it, or she will drift away. But either way, you remain whole. This is the power dynamic stripped of illusion. It is not about fairness. It is about nature. You are not owed love. You are not owed loyalty. You must earn desire. And you earn it by becoming the gravitational force around which her chaos organizes, not through words, not through lectures, but through the unshakable presence of a man who needs nothing from her and offers everything to himself. A man whose mission is sacred, a man who carries the law within him. That is what the feminine psyche craves, not domination, but direction, not oppression, but orientation. And when she finds it, she becomes radiant. Her chaos finds rhythm. Her longing finds home. Her shifting morality finds purpose. And for a moment, for a glorious, fleeting moment, she feels whole. Not because she found herself, but because she found someone strong enough to hold the mirror steady. Lacan's theory, at its core, is not about condemnation. It is about structure. He did not hate women. He decoded them. And in doing so, he revealed the ancient dance we are all still dancing. The masculine creates order. The feminine reflects it. The masculine offers law. The feminine tests it. The masculine speaks the no. The feminine seeks the exception. And when the dance is balanced, it is beautiful. But when the masculine forgets who he is, when he seeks to please rather than to lead, when he breaks himself into softness, hoping to be chosen, that is when the feminine panics. That is when the chaos erupts. She does not want you to dissolve. She wants you to withstand her. She wants you to carry the weight of your own law, not because she wishes to be ruled, but because she needs to feel the edge of your strength to know where she ends. And when she feels that edge, she surrenders, not in submission, but in relief. The performance can stop. The shifting can end. The void can rest. This is what every hero myth has tried to tell you. This is why the warrior must go into the underworld, why the king must earn his crown, why the dragon must be slain. Not for the gold, not even for the girl, but because only through that crucible does the man become someone whose presence is law, and only in the presence of that man does the feminine feel safe enough to become love. So let go of your resentment. Let go of your need to be seen as good. Let go of your bitterness about what you thought love would be, and become instead what you were meant to be. Not a man who demands loyalty. A man who commands it, not a man who explains his worth. A man who embodies it, not a man who waits to be chosen. A man who builds a life so valuable that being chosen by him is the highest possible validation. This is the end of illusion. This is the beginning of power. This is not about red pills or black pills. This is about clarity, about seeing the world not as you wish it were, but as it is. And when you see clearly, you can no longer be deceived. You can no longer be destroyed by betrayal that is not betrayal. You can no longer be shattered by expectations that were never realistic to begin with. You are now free. Free to act, not react. Free to lead, not follow. Free to build a life not of hope, but of strength. And in that life, if you are fortunate, she will find you, not to complete you, but to reflect what you already are. A man of law, a man of gravity, a man of purpose. And when she sees you, truly sees you, she will become what she was always meant to be. Not a mirror for the world, but a mirror for you. This is the conclusion of the theory. But it is only the beginning of the practice. The map has been drawn. The void has been named. The engine has been revealed. The rest is up to you. You now hold the forbidden lens. What you do with it will define the rest of your life.